Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Morgue. I would like to preface this episode with saying, first of all, if you hear a dog in the background, that is my dog. She is in the room with me. Second of all, you may think that we're missing somebody, and we totally are. So, Hannah is not here with us today, unfortunately. This is actually the second time that I'm sitting down to record this because let's just say the first time it may or may not have kind of sounded like we were underwater, which was my own fault. I did not realize that the setting on the microphone was incorrect. So yeah, that's on me. That's another reason why the episode is late. And yeah, it was just not the best. And so we were supposed to record today. Hannah had something that just kind of came up with her, and so I just said, do you want me to do a solo dolo episode? And she said yes, and so here we are. And it's kind of funny that the second episode is like this because originally I was going to be doing a podcast completely like by myself. I had a host lined up. They unfortunately were unable to do it, and so I was like, I'll just do it all by myself, whatever. And Hannah came to me asking if she could like come up with like the logo and stuff because she's really good at that. And I was like, yeah, dude, totally, of course. And then I was like, you know what, like we're already watching movies together because I've been showing her some horror movies because she's like into it, but she hasn't seen a lot of them. So I'm like, hey, I can show you the good ones. And so I was like, do it with me. Since we're already on this journey, do it with me. And she agreed, and so here we are. But yes, now I'm rambling. Today, it's just going to be me, so I hope you enjoy. Before we begin, there is just a few little announcements. The first one is we have our listener support set up. So listener support is kind of like a monthly donation. We're not begging for money or anything, but if you want another way to support us, that's not, following us on all social media, putting it out there, sharing and all of that. If you want to do that with money, an easy way to do that is with listener support. You can find that on our Spotify for Podcasters page. The link will be in all of our descriptions of the episodes. And that money will be going towards getting better equipment, making it so that we can have multiple microphones set up, because I have been trying to figure out a way to have multiple microphones set up and record, and I have to buy new things. So that's where that donation money will go towards. And then also another thing, would you guys be interested in subscriptions? So subscriptions are kind of like Patreon, if you've heard of Patreon. If you haven't, it's kind of like you also make a monthly donation. It wouldn't be a lot or anything, and I don't think there's like different tiers or anything. So if you, say you do $5 a month, everyone is going to be getting the same things unlocked, I guess. I haven't looked too deep into it, but we would be giving you guys bonus episodes, like one bonus episode a week. It would be anything from non-horror movies, true crime, just general discussion, like mental health or like, being a woman or, just things like that. And so if you guys are interested in something like that, I am going to be putting up a poll underneath this episode. I'm going to let it run for a couple of weeks and just, see if that's something that you guys are interested in. And so here we are with The People Under the Stairs. People Under the Stairs is a 1991 horror movie, and it has slight comedic undertones in it. It was written and directed by Wes Craven, as we all know and love from Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, as well as like Scream. And we're actually going to be covering the Scream franchise within the next few weeks. And allegedly, the story from The People Under the Stairs was partially inspired by a 1978 news story. And the case involved two African-American burglars who made forced entry into a house in LA which led to the discovery of a pair of missing children who had been locked away by their parents, which is really scary. And I'm just like, Mr. Craven, sir, how do you read something like that and you're like, let's just turn it into a horror movie? Like, I don't know. I could never. I just feel like, in a way, it's kind of like disrespectful to the victims, but maybe that's just me. The movie stars Brandon Quinton Adams as Fool. You may know Brandon from Mighty Ducks 1 and 2 and The Sandlot if you're, a 90s kid. The man, which I read on, I think, IMDb trivia, supposedly his name was Eldon Roberson. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Roberson. I've been pronouncing it wrong my entire life. Roberson. I didn't see it, and the first time that me and Hannah recorded this, she didn't hear it or anything, so I think that was just, something that IMDb was just like, hey, here's a lie. But he was played by Everett McGill, who was in the 1984 version of Dune, which has been remade into the Timothée Chalamet, and I'm pretty sure Zendaya is in it. They have like a couple of them. He was in that and Stephen King's Silver Bullet. The woman was played by Wendy Roby, I believe is her last name, and she was in Vampire in Brooklyn and The Dentist 2. And they were actually casted because they were in something else. I forgot the name of it. They were in something else and they played a wife and a husband. And that's the reason why they got casted into this movie specifically. So there's another little fun fact. Alice was played by AJ Langer, and she was in Lightning in a Bottle and Escape from LA. I don't know. Leroy, my boy Leroy, Justice for Leroy. He was played by Ving Rhames, who was in, if you don't already know this, like, he was in Pulp Fiction, of course. If you haven't already seen Pulp Fiction, go watch that. It's an amazing movie. Quentin Tarantino is my favorite director ever. Like, go watch Pulp Fiction. He's in Con Air, Baby Boy, Dawn of the Dead, and the Mission Impossible franchise. And then Roach, my boy Roach, Justice for Roach. He's played by Sean Wallen, which was in the movie Twister, another one of my favorites. If we end up doing subscriptions, I am definitely covering that. And Pulp Fiction, of course. And he was also in Idle Hands, 3 from Hell, and I think 1 or 2 episodes of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. He played one of the McPoyles. And lastly, we have Kelly Jo Minter playing Ruby. She was in A Nightmare on Elm Street 5, Dream Child, and House Party. The People Under the Stairs released in the U.S. on November 1st, 1991, with an estimated budget of $6 million. The opening box office in the U.S. and Canada only was at $5.5 million, which, yeah, they didn't really, hit over their budget. They didn't make any money, but the grossing worldwide was $31.3 million. So they ended up making back quite a lot. They just needed to get that grossing worldwide. It had a runtime of 1 hour and 42 minutes, or if you're a weirdo, 102 minutes, with a tagline, quote, "In every neighborhood, there is one house that adults whisper about and children cross the street to avoid," end quote. I think that's kind of a dumb tagline, but okay. It has an IMDb rating of 6.4 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes has 70% on the tomato meter and 60% with the audience. Letterboxd has it at a 3.4 out of 5, which I did start a Letterboxd. If you guys want to go follow me on there, I'll just link it in the description because I don't remember what my name is on there, to be honest. And a little fun fact, Craven was actually developing a TV adaptation for Sci-Fi shortly before he died, which makes me kind of sad because I love this movie and I would have loved to see a TV adaptation. But as of October of 2020, it was reported that Jordan Peele and Wynn Rosenfeld signed on to produce a remake under Monkey Paw Productions for Universal, which it is now August of 2023. I haven't heard shit about that, so I guess we'll see. Ooh. Now that the microphone's working properly. Vape ASMR. ASMR with Mal without Hannah. I wish you were here, Hannah. Let's hit this shit. Delicious. It is a Lush Ice Orion bar. And now I'm about to take a sip of my sweet tea. Sweet tea. Ah, delicious. Ah, so yummy. And this has been ASMR with Mal without Hannah. Back to the show. We open with the title card, The People Under the Stairs, in green lettering. And then there's a tarot reading. Ruby is doing a reading for her brother, Poindexter, which we will all learn to know as Fool, for his 13th birthday. The cards we see are 9 of Swords, Page of Pentacles, 9 of Wands, Judgment, Death, the Devil, and the Fool. And Ruby tells Dexter about what the Fool card represents, which is kind of a foreshadowing for the whole movie to come. As we pan out, Fool is reading a book and we hear Ruby in the other room talking to their mother, and we can tell that the mother is sick. We later find out that it's with cancer, unfortunately. And Fool goes into the room and, there's an obvious problem. Like, you can tell just with the tones and, like, how the mom just suddenly just stops talking. And Ruby's just like, it's nothing that you can do, just go on, and she shuts the door. And so Fool walks away, and this is where we run into Leroy, who is a, quote, friend of Ruby's, which my mom actually pointed this out to me. I personally never thought about it. We soon find out that Ruby is in sex work, and my mom was like, I wonder if that's her pimp, which, I mean, it could be. That's a good question, in my opinion. He totally could be, but I don't know. I don't know if your pimp would be just like hanging out at your decrepit apartment, so I don't know. Good question. Anyways, Leroy tells Fool that his family is getting evicted due to them being 3 days late on the rent. 3 days late equals triple the rent, which they don't have because these people are so poor. Like, if you guys could see how bad their poor apartment looks, like, if you've watched the movie, you know what I'm talking about. Them walls are like falling apart. It's all dirty. They probably have roaches and rats and everything else, and it's just really, really sad. Leroy then tells Fool that he knows how he can earn a little bit of cash. Then there's a quick transition into a fireplace, which has some really nice pieces of like fat ass wood on there with like some like fine detail. A man is chowing down on some ribs, which those are some big ass ribs. And there's a young girl who brings him, I think, a glass of milk. Bitch, who in their right mind drinks milk with ribs, with barbecue? Like, that's almost as bad as the people that drink milk with spaghetti. Like, if you've seen Halloween Ends, you know what I'm talking about. Oh, it's just, no. Also, who just drinks milk like that? You're a psychopath. I can't handle it. Get you some chocolate milk or something. Anyways, a lady is sewing, and they are actually the landlords. And they're talking about how Fool's family is the last one in the building, and they have to leave before they can tear it down to make it into some fancy condos. She talks about how there will be clean people there, which will provide more wood for her fireplace. And then the man says, and money. And meat. Bitch. Meat? Excuse me? You nasty. Meat? What? No. The woman is really, really rude to the young girl whenever the young girl asks a question. I think she says something like, where do the people go, like, after you guys kick them out? And the woman says, speak when spoken to. That's what good girls do. Excuse the fuck out of me, bitch. And the man then spits something out and says, "Damn buckshot." So, it's safe to assume that these people are hunters. If you've seen the movie, we're slightly correct in a way. Anyways, it quick transitions to Fool going home, and it shows like just how bad the area and the building are. People are standing outside, they're probably doing drugs. The hall and like the stairway are just filled up with people. And like what makes this even worse is that they literally just said that they're the last people in the building, like living in the building. So it's like all these people, they just come there and hang out. They literally just come there and just hang out and, just talk and do drugs and get drunk and whatever. And it's just like, damn, like, go home. Why you gotta basically hang out at like an abandoned building? Damn near. Fool gets to his door and dogs are fighting over food. All the walls are like all broke up and shit. The windows are boarded up and it's just scary. Just all around scary. I personally would not want to be there. Leroy and Ruby are talking, and he mentions that she is having to turn tricks to make money, which, like I said, she's into sex work. And then he blurts out that Fool's mom has cancer, which Fool was unaware of that. And Fool gets mad and kicks him right in the shin. And then Leroy ends up manhandling this child, then explains his plan. Him and another guy, which we learn his name is Spencer, robbed a liquor store the night before. And they found a letter that belonged to the owner, who happens to also be the landlord. And the landlord owns most of the neighborhood. Sounds like a fucking monopoly to me, I think. I think that's what a monopoly means. Anyways, the letter was asking to buy a gold collection from the owner of the collection. And it was probably worth millions. And Ruby says to just stay away from that guy and that she's heard really, really bad things about him. But Fool's like, you know what? We gonna do this today. It transitions to the woman walking into the young girl's room to collect her dinner plate. And she asks if she had licked the plate and then makes her try on this ugly ass dress. She's like, I worked all day on it. I want to make sure that it fits. And she literally just like manhandles this young girl and starts brushing out her hair. And she's like, do you love your mother? And the girl responds, yes, ma'am. And the woman is like, yes, ma'am, what? And the little girl goes, yes, ma'am, I love you, mother. And you can tell that there's like some obvious abuse undertones. There might be a little overtones, but there are definitely some undertones in there. So you're sitting there just like, this woman just really just has this little girl trained damn near, and it makes me very uncomfortable. And so the woman then goes to collect the girl's plate, and she asks for her fork, and the little girl is like, trying to find it. She's like, maybe I dropped it. And a hand, this pasty ass hand, comes out of like this vent in the wall, and it forks over said fork, right? And it's just ew, and she touches it and tells it to like go back into the wall and stuff, and it's just really gross. And she forks over the fork, right? And the man comes in and says some racist ass shit. He says some N-words robbed the store, meaning the liquor store. And he's talking about how much tension he has. And the woman mentions that the girl, Alice, has been a very bad girl. She's been feeding the thing in the wall again. And she says, remember not to bruise her face. M'excuse me, bitch. M'excuse me. The woman leaves, and the man takes off his belt. And Alice it's like a shot of Alice just looking fearful. And it's left to the imagination of what he does to her. Like I said, it's some abuse type shit in here. And it's a little uncomfortable. And so we transition to Leroy and Spencer, and they're in the van. And we see an exterior of the house, and it's a beautiful house. It's like really big for 1991, but it's also just very scary. For some reason, the color of dark brown on a big house, and it's like, I'm pretty sure it's like dark brown, like siding, but it's not like very shiny siding, and it just makes me very uncomfortable. It just, no. don't paint your house with brown siding. No. And so Fool is dressed as a Boy Scout, and he's trying to scout out the house. And he goes to the front door, knocks on it, there's no answer. Then he goes over to the side door where he notices this little pond, and he's looking at the pond, and then the woman answers and is like, what do you want? This and that. And he's like, I'm trying to sell these cookies to raise money for something. I think it was like spina bifida or something like that. And she's like, no, we're not interested. She shoos him away. And as he's out there talking to her, we notice that there are like these metal like barred screen things that are over all of the windows, and they're just all padlocked from the outside, which really doesn't make any damn sense if you're trying to like keep your house secure. So clearly they're trying to keep something inside. Fool goes back to the van and he tells Leroy and Spence the intel that he learned, and Spencer has an idea. His golden idea. He's going to pose as a gas company worker, and he goes out there. Before he can even knock on the door, the woman answers, and she's looking at him like, who are you? And he's like, I'm here with the gas company. I need to check the meter. And she's like, you've already looked at the meter. You just walked past it. And he's like, no. There's one in the house. It's here on my master list. There's a gas leak. And she's like, oh, gas leak. And lets him in. She actually lets him in, which really surprised me. But, lets him in. And Leroy and Fool are in the van, and Leroy's kind of feeling a little sus about Spencer, and he thinks he's going to take the collection for himself. He's like, look, I think this motherfucker is going to go up in there and steal all the gold for himself. And as they're driving around, they see that the woman is leaving. She's like backing out of the driveway, and they decide to go inside while she's gone. So they go up to the house and they successfully break in, and Fool sees the first of a few voodoo looking dolls that are like lying around the house, and they run into a bit of a problem. And that problem is Prince, the beautiful Rottweiler doggo. That dog is so damn beautiful. Like, he has a shiny ass coat. You can tell that he been eating good. Like, oh, if I could just have a dog like Prince. Like, my dog, love her to death, but that dog, damn. So anyways, Prince, the beautiful doggo, attacks the hell out of them, and they end up fighting him off somehow with his big ass, and they lock him outside, and that means that they lock themselves inside, which isn't always a good thing. And so then they also start seeing how fucking dirty this house is. Like, there's dust everywhere. There's literally like a pile of flies just next to the window, and it's just so nasty. Like, it literally, I felt like I needed to take a shower. It was really gross. Fool's like, I want to leave, but Leroy's like, no, we have to find Spencer because he's gonna find the coin collection first, and then he's gonna have it all to himself. And so they hear movement upstairs. And so Leroy's like, I'm going to go upstairs and see what it is. I feel like you're too chicken shit for this type of work, so you can stay down here and keep guard. And Fool's just like, okay, starts looking around and stuff. And he hears a noise in the basement. And so, of course, it would not be a horror movie without him going to the basement. So he goes to the basement. And he sees some of Spencer's shit, like, sitting on the stairs. And he gets to about that point, and he hears something, so he runs back up the stairs, which is really smart, in my opinion. And he stops short before he can, like, actually walk out of the doorway of the basement. And he says to himself, maybe you're just too chicken shit for this type of work. Leroy's words just echoing in his head. And so he's like, you know what? I'm 13 years old. Let's go downstairs and investigate, which is so stupid. Like, no, you're being so smart by trying to not investigate. So why go down there? So he goes back down to the basement. And for those who have watched the movie, considering what's down there, like, in this moment, it is so quiet. You could hear a pin drop in there. Like, it was just mad quiet, and it was weird. So Fool sees a light, but then he kind of hears like talking and stuff, right? And he spots a TV, and it's facing inside what looks to be another room. And then another light pops up, and it startles him. And then multiple lights just start flashing in like this room thing that's next to him. It's like these like slats that are covering this thing, like making a room basically in the basement. And he ends up tripping, and he falls over a body, which it turns out it's Spencer's body. His hair is literally white, and he dead. That motherfucker big dead. And it turns out he's holding a gold coin. And as Fool is like looking at the gold coin, something starts dragging Spencer's body through like this grate in the wall towards like where the flashlights are coming from, right? Fool tries to like scare them off, and he ends up grabbing the body, like pulling it back out, and he realizes that they were chomping on his hand. It's all bloodied up. It's disgusting. They was chomping away on that hand. Whew. And then, like, as he's, like, in shock, he looks up and he sees someone. They're readjusting the TV to, like, face into the room. And he's like, who are you? But then, suddenly, somebody jumps out and, like, grabs him from behind. And there's, like, a slight tussle. They're, like, trying to, like, wrestle in there. And Fool is able to make his way up the stairs, which I guess may or may not have had a tripwire on it, because it all of a sudden like turns to a ramp, and he falls down the ramp, and he realizes that these are all people under the stairs. Roll credits. He realizes that these are all people down there, and he runs up the ramp. He like is kicking at the person that scared him downstairs because they're still coming after him. He's kicking at him and shit, and he ends up closing the door and he locks it. Fool hears a car pull in, and it's the man and the woman. And he goes upstairs to find Leroy, and he finds him on the floor, and he looked dead. For those who have seen this movie, like, he really did look dead. And Fool actually gives him a good little jump scare. He is not dead. And Fool tells him that Spencer is dead in the basement and the people are back. And when they try to run out and leave, the people are at the back door and they're trying to get in. And so they run up to the front door, and the front door has electricity in the doorknob. And so poor Fool goes to grab it, gets electrocuted, falls back, and Leroy just ignores him and is just trying to find a way out. And he's like trying to hit the glass, and the glass is like bulletproof tempered glass, like some unbreakable shit. And the people somehow end up letting Prince in the house. They get him in the house, and Prince, with his beautiful, just beautiful ass, he attacks Leroy, which, sorry, Leroy, you were kind of being a dick. Why would you just ignore a child who was just electrocuted? Fuck you. Fool just kind of stands there at first and then tries to help, which he ends up grabbing Leroy's other hand, because Prince was grabbed onto one hand. Fool was on the other side, and Fool grabs the doorknob, which has electricity in it, which it shocks both of them. But then, like, the dog, wasted. Prince is out. Like, he done skis for right now. He has to take a little power nap, right? And they run upstairs to hide, and at this point, the man and the woman have made their way inside. Fool and Leroy, they enter the man and woman's room, and then, like, they're trying to get out of the window, and this is, like, the first little hint of straight freakiness up in here. Like, shit's been weird, it's been abusive, but nah, this is the freaky deaky shit. There is a leather-studded harness. If you know, you fucking know. Leroy, he ends up finding a closet in the hallway, and he sends Fool just on his way. He's like, go find your own hiding spot. It's full over here, like a fucking bitch. But just wait, because karma is about to catch up to him. And so all of the lights are out, and the man is walking around with a gun and a flashlight. And then, boom, someone jumps out of the wall in the closet and scares the shit out of Leroy. And so Leroy screams and leaves the closet just in time for the man to see him. Leroy got. Okay? Leroy got shot once, right? He like falls back up on the wall and shit. And then he gets shot again and damn, he falls down the stairs. And so the people are both downstairs. They're literally jumping for joy, which is weird as hell. And Fool ends up finding like this candle, right? He's been hidden this entire time. He finds a candle and another voodoo looking doll, which leads to this vent in the wall. The vent opens up and he sees Alice and he follows her. Meanwhile, the man thinks Fool is someone else and like follows him, but like he can't get into the vent. He's too damn big. And he starts shooting at him. Luckily, he misses. He misses Fool. And then Fool comes out of the wall and he's in another hallway, which this house did not look that big to have like straight up separate hallway wings. Like it's very weird. And so he's trying to like open up all of the doors. They're all locked. He finds a door that's open and he goes into the bathroom and there's Alice, our girl Alice. Alice looks absolutely terrified. And we soon learn that she's actually never seen a black person and she's also never been outside, which is very sad. Like, homegirl, you making my chest hurt. You know what I'm saying? Why you gotta say you've never been outside? That's really sad. Fool says that he's going to get out and Alice says that people have tried, which are the people in the cellar. Alice explains that the man and the woman searched for the perfect white boy child. And that always turned out bad. Some saw or heard too much. Others talked back. The man ended up cutting out the bad parts and then put the boys in the cellar. Fool asks why she hasn't been put in the cellar yet. And Alice explains that she does not hear, see, or speak evil. And then, oh so dramatic, she sheds a tear. And it's like a really sad scene knowing that she's had to live like that. Like it genuinely stresses me out and it's kind of a Debbie Downer for the movie. But like there's going to be some comedic shit coming up. So everything's fine. Everything's fine. They end up hearing yelling and Alice says that it's Roach and that the man has been hunting him because he got out of the cellar and he's been hiding in the walls. There's a quick transition to the hallway, and this is where there's more freaky deaky shit. The man comes out in an all leather studded gimp outfit, mask and all, and he is holding a shotgun. He is straight up getting buck wild, like shooting into the walls and shit. Fool tells Alice that he needs to find a way out. And she shows him an entrance into the wall and says, sometimes in is out. And the man is going crazy in the hallway and he's like shooting up the walls and the ceiling and shit. And Alice just kind of like disappeared because Fool, like he turned his back. By the time he looked back, she was gone. And so he's trying to find his way into the wall, which he can't find. And so Fool is left to kind of just hide in the bathtub and like with these nasty ass shower curtains. And lucky him, Roach led the man away just for the time being. And meanwhile, the woman has brought Prince a little snacky snack. It is Spencer's bloodied hand. And all I have to say is, Prince, you just so damn beautiful. You're just the cutest, most bestest boy ever. And I love him so much. Anywho, the police pull up outside to investigate Leroy's van, and the woman says over the intercom that the police are there. She says, "Daddy, police outside," which, excuse me, Daddy, no ma'am. And it causes him to stop what he's doing, and Fool sees the police and can't get his attention due to the thick ass glass. Like he is like banging on it, they can't hear shit. And so the man and the woman go downstairs to talk to the police, and the police tell them that the van was used in a liquor store robbery the previous night, which was their liquor store, the one that Leroy and Spence kind of hit up the night before. And so they convince the police to leave, and the people discover the scout's uniform in the back of the van. So they figure out that Fool is still in the house. Fool tries to escape in the wall in the hallway, but is found by Prince. So he is forced back into the bathroom. And Prince is trying to like get through the door as he's trying to shut it. And he straight up punches Prince square in the nose. And it was actually kind of funny, even though I love that dog with all of my heart. The man sees Prince like freaking out and like scratching at the door. And so he straight up shoots the door, sticks his head through, and Fool knocks his dumb ass out with the toilet lid, like, you know, like the tank lid, that heavy ass thing, hits his ass in the head, and he like kind of knocks out for like 2 seconds. And Fool says, "If you come in here, I'll kick your ass." And boom, Roach grabs him from the opening in a wall. Like there's like a medicine chest and it just opens up. Roach fucking grabs him, and the man, he's scared to go in, so Prince goes in for him. And this man was pelted in the face via slingshot right before he sent Prince in. Roach straight up pulls out a slingshot and gets a rock and pelts this man in the forehead. And so he's like, "Prince, go in and kill." And so Roach is trying to lead Fool to safety. And as Prince starts catching up, they pause, and Prince basically gets stuck in a trap, which is a slide that leads into the kitchen where the people are. And Fool and Roach are kind of safe for the time being. The boys end up finding Alice's room, and Fool is formally introduced to Roach and sees that his tongue has been cut out. He's like, you know, your friend, he's a little quiet, and he's like, "Oh yeah, look at my tongue," basically. He just like sticks it out and is like, "It's been cut," because he was trying to call for help. Fool is up there straight talking shit about Alice's quote unquote parents, and Alice is like, "You better hush. They gonna hear you talking shit, and they gonna hurt you." And we find out that Alice has made the dolls. She was the one making all the dolls, and she makes them of the people who have died in the house. And suddenly the man straight up blasts in and finds the boys in Alice's room. The man has Fool at gunpoint, and the woman says, "It's time to clean house." Like, bitch, shut up already. Your one-liners are not cute. And so the man makes Fool drag Leroy's body into the basement, and he pushes both Leroy's body and Fool down into the basement. Meanwhile, the woman is making Alice clean up the blood left from Leroy. She literally pushes her into a puddle of blood. Like, no ma'am. And I just have it in my notes right here that Roby, the woman's last name, the woman that played the woman, she fucking killed it in this role. Like, she legit made me absolutely despise her. And like, she read the fucking assignment, and bravo to her. So anyways, in the basement, Fool is tied up as the man is skinning and gutting Leroy while simultaneously eating raw pieces of him. Raw? It's fucking raw? It's one thing to be a cannibal, sir. It's another thing to be a cannibal and also be on a raw diet. No, sir. Quick transition upstairs, and the woman is like, she's yelling at Alice. She's like, "You need to get in the bath. You've soiled your dress, your beautiful dress that I made you." And she puts her in scalding hot water. Like, lady bitch, I hope you know that if that was me, you're coming in this bath too. I'm getting burnt by scalding water. You're getting burnt by scalding water. Like, don't fucking test me. Like, and like, the fact that she not only was the one that pushed her into the blood, thus causing her dress to get bloodied, also, to the women out there that are listening, like, not to be too No, okay, I'm not sorry. I'm just gonna say it because us women out there, we understand it. Whenever we have our periods and this shit happens, you leak or whatever, or it's a surprise, and it gets on your undies, what's the first thing that you do? You rinse it with cold water because that's what gets the blood stains out. Like, come on. Or at least it gets most of it out. You don't use fucking hot water. That's with any stain, hot water is gonna make it stain. It's gonna make it stay there. Like, Jesus, stupid bitch. Anyways, the man throws Leroy's body in a hole and puts Fool in the room with the boys in the cellar. And Alice is put back in their room and she just looks burnt the fuck up. Like, her skin just looks so red and like it hurts. And the boys in the basement are like kind of curious about Fool, but Fool is really scared of them, which is completely understandable. And like, they look mad scary. Like, they're all pale and shit. Their eyes are all fucked up. They look all deformed because they haven't been out in the sunlight. Like, some of them ain't got fucking ears. Some of them, their tongue's been cut out. Shit's fucked up. And so then they all hear noises coming from the hole, right? And they all go over there to look, and it's Leroy. Ooh. But not really. It's actually Roach coming to save Fool. And Roach and Fool end up entering the furnace, and we see that Roach has actually been shot. It's a really sad moment. Roach gives Fool some gold coins and then points him in the direction of Alice. And he's like, go up, go there. And that's where Alice is. And unfortunately, Roach dies. And Fool has to leave to go to find Alice. And it's a really sad moment. And Fool makes his way into the vents. And he hears Alice getting beat by the man. And Prince is barking right outside the door where Alice's room is. And this part was actually kind of funny to me because as the man is like beating the shit out of her, he goes up to the door and is like, shut the fuck up. And just the way that he says it, it was like perfect timing to just kind of like cut it up a little bit. Like, ooh, here's this man abusing this poor girl. Like, it's really, really sad. And then it's like, shut the fuck up. It was just really funny. Anyways, Fool pops out of the vent in the wall and gets the man right in the dick, punches him right in the dick, and Fool and Alice end up escaping back through the vents. The man obviously cannot fit, so he goes back down to the furnace and he starts a fire, which sadly burns up Roach's body, and it's just, poor Roach, he deserved better. And so, in turn, that makes all of the vents super duper smoky, which I never understood this. Houses that have, like, wood burning furnaces, where does the smoke go? Because, like, even in the movie, like, it shows that the vents get smoky. Does that not get, like, pumped in to, like, the house itself? Because, like, my mom said that it goes through a chimney, but I don't understand necessarily. So, yeah, I don't get it. Maybe that's just something I should just Google. Anyways, Alice and Fool end up busting out of the vents, and they're now in the walls. And the man hears them, and he starts shooting at the walls. And she's like, if we're quiet, he won't hear us. And so they're walking around the inside of the walls, and they find a booby trap, which was kind of scary. It was a little surprising. And the man and the woman end up sending Prince into the vents to find them, which I'm like, y'all know that the vents are all smoky, but he ends up making his way over to them into the walls. And Fool's like, fuck this shit, I'm about to just fight this fucking dog. And so the man ends up entering a room because he hears Fool in the walls. This man enters the room, and it's filled with, like, candles, and for, like, a split second, you can see all these, like, little pictures all over the walls, and it looks like they're of little kids, and it's really fucking creepy, and I'm just like, is that your scrapbooking room? Like, that's the only place that my mind can go to, because anything else is, like, really, really fucked up. Like, are those all of the children that you've stolen? Like, that is so fucked. Ugh. And so the man ends up stabbing at the walls, like he has a bayonet at the end of his gun, and he starts stabbing at the walls, and he stabs at the wall, and there's a scream, right? Fool was like, oh my God, I'm stabbed. And he brings the bayonet out, and sure enough, there's blood. And we're like, has Fool been killed? And no, it was Prince. R.I.P. to the goodest boy out there. Like, not only was he very pretty, just an overall just beautiful dog, he was very obedient. Like, I'm not going to blame him for his actions. Like, he doesn't deserve that. He's just an animal. He's just a cute little doggo. And yeah, he was the best dog. So R.I.P. to the goodest boy, Prince. Back to the regularly scheduled programming. The man is overjoyed, and the woman is like, prove that you killed him. And so Fool and Alice are like scaling the wall into the attic, and the man breaks open the wall, and out pops poor Prince as he's dying. And the woman screams, "You killed Prince!" And like, we all know that this motherfucker is gonna get his ass beat that night, because we all can tell who wears the pants in that relationship. And that was her child. Like, I understand that, she's had opportunities after stealing children to be the best mom ever and have actual children. But like, as a pet owner, if somebody killed my baby, I would be beating their ass. So yeah. Anyways, Fool and Alice make their way up to the attic. They find an open window, and Fool says that they need to climb down, and if they jump off, they could land in the pond that was in the very, very beginning that he looked at. And the man ends up coming up, and it's like, as Alice is screaming, she's like, what's out there? Because she's like never been outside. Completely understandable, but girlfriend, this is like your one opportunity. Like, come on now. It's time to go. And she's like, what's out there? I can't go. Oh my God, what's out there? And so the man comes up, he's screaming and shit, and Fool like jumps out the window. He straight up is like, I'm jumping out the fucking window. And Fool ends up falling into the water and is able to escape. But meanwhile, the man, he just comes outside fucking shooting and shit. And the woman is pissed because not only did Fool get away, but also the man was outside shooting, which is no bueno. So he's getting his ass beat probably 3 times tonight. 1 for killing her dog, 2 for shooting outside, and 3 for letting Fool go. And so at this point, Fool is at home talking to his sister and grandpa, and his grandpa tells him that he has enough of the coins that Roach gave him to save his family, plus some. And he explains the story of the family. And this is where us, the viewers, discover that the man and the woman are brother and sister. I'm gonna take a moment. Like, you nasty. You are so nasty. And also, this just reminds me, IMDb, I am calling you out because your plot on there literally gives out everything. Your plot gives out the fact that they're brother and sister. They give out the fact, we'll get to it, but it gives out the fact that they're brother and sister, and it's just like, what the fuck? So, it started all out as a family that sold cheap caskets for an expensive price because, like, we see, there's a sign that's like, Roberson Funeral Home and this and that. And then they eventually got into real estate, and it's gotten just like worse and worse over the years, and the people have just gotten crazier and crazier and more greedy. And so the police, they didn't take any reports seriously of what was going on over there. And the grandpa says that even when he was a kid, they wouldn't even walk by that house. And so Ruby tells Fool not to mess with those people. And Fool says that he basically needs to go back and save Alice. So he goes to a phone booth. If any of you guys know what a phone booth is, I know what a phone booth is. And he goes to make a call to the police to report child abuse happening at the Robersons' house. the police show up, and in a very long-winded scene, I feel like the scene could have been cut down a lot more. The man and the woman convince them that they don't even have kids, and the police leave, and it's back on the bullshit. And the people are like, oh yeah, let's take our asses to bed. And Fool comes out of the cabinet and into the kitchen, right? And he arms himself with a fire poker, and he makes his way upstairs. And when he gets to their room, he discovers that like the talking that he had been hearing was just recordings of them talking to each other, which was fucking weird. And boom, the man comes out in his freaky ass gimp suit. Like, I know they was about to get it on, and they heard footsteps, and they were like, we need to do this now. There's no time to change. And they attack Fool, and Fool defends himself, and the woman, she gets a fire poker to the leg, and then the man, he gets one to the head. And Fool runs downstairs, and he does this really good job of making it look like he's already left the house, but he just opened up the back door, and he's hiding in the chimney, and he's climbing up to the attic. And so Alice is tied up in the attic, and Fool climbs up and like knocks a brick out, and he's like talking to her and stuff, and he's like, can you get down? And she's like, no, there's this, thing in the wall. And he's like, here, let me fix that for you, basically, and gets her down. And he's like, let me climb up through the chimney. But before he can do that, the man comes up there in his leather studded fit, and Alice has to look like she's all tied up for a minute, and she says, please let me down. This nasty motherfucker rubs his dick for a minute, and the woman comes up and is like, come help me to bed. You nasty ass bitch. This motherfucker really gets off on little girls saying, please let me down. Like, I'll fuck you up, nasty. And so they leave, and Fool climbs up the chimney and then enters the attic via the window. And Fool explains to Alice that when she was little, she was stolen, and that they're not her real parents, which is the other thing that they give up in the fucking plot on IMDb, and that pisses me off. Like, yeah, it could have been assumed by now, but damn. And Fool asks if they can jump again. But Alice explains that that's not possible, and the way that they came up last time was closed off, like the part in the wall. And the pond is now filled up with rocks and glass, and there's no water in it, so yeah. Fool brings her to the roof and over to the chimney, and the man and the woman are arguing in their room, and they hear the commotion in the fireplace. And the man lets out a couple rounds, and Fool drops a brick right onto his head. And it's so fucking funny because he's like shooting up, and Fool's like, oh, you got me. Oh, it hurts so much. And the man literally is just like looking up, and he fucking just drops the brick on him, and the woman screams, and they think that they're safe to climb down. So they start sliding down, and the woman now has the gun, and they get to her before she can let off any shots. Luckily, she drops the gun into the chimney. It goes down to the basement, I believe, and they like grab onto her. And this really cuts the tension, because he sticks his fingers in her nose, and she's like, like screaming and shit, and like has to like fall backwards because that fucking hurts. And they start sliding down even more, and the woman is up there like clearing her nose, and she just yells, caca. And it's just so fucking funny. Every single time I watch this movie, it never ceases to make me fucking die. And so Fool tells Alice to leave, and he's going to get the boys from the basement. And Alice enters into the living room, Fool now in the basement. The boys recognize him, and he hushes them. He's like, you shut the fuck up. And upstairs, the woman runs into Alice, and Alice actually talks back to her, because the woman's like, we gotta get him. Where's your friend? We gotta get him. And Alice is like, no, fuck you, bitch. You're not my mother. Like, And she stubs her toe because the woman's not wearing any shoes. Alice is wearing some little flats. She stubs her toe and Alice yells, "Go to hell!" Which is something that both of the siblings have been saying this whole entire movie. They're just like, burn in hell, go to hell. Like, shut the fuck up. And the sister gives the brother the go-ahead to kill Alice, but they can't find her. She's hiding in one of the many nooks that are in the kitchen, and they hear a commotion in the cellar, and they're like, she has to be down there. And they're like, no, it's the boy. And so the man goes down there, and Fool almost shoots him. He almost gets him, but the man got the jump on him and turned the stairs into the little ramp. And so Fool, he almost shot him, but he falls down the stairs. And so the man gets Fool at gunpoint and he's ready to shoot, but suddenly they hear a knock at the door. And the sister tells them to hush. She's like, it might be the police again. You'll need to hush. And she answers the door, and it's actually Ruby. But she says, this is also really funny. She says that she is a representative from the Association of People Who've Been Unjustly Evicted, Exploited, and Generally Fucked Over. And she gives the woman a piece of her mind. And the woman is like, fuck you, and locks her out. And so the woman goes and gives the man the go-ahead to shoot Fool, but then the boys end up shining their flashlights at him, so Fool is loose again. And so someone else is at the door, and she's like, hush, close the basement door again. And the person yells, police! And so the woman tells her brother, it's the police. So she opens up the door, and it's Grandpa. Hi, Grandpa. Grandpa says that they want to give their piece, so you're going to listen. And the woman shows her little gun and is like, all I see is a couple of... And people like start showing up all behind them, because at first it just looked like two of them. And then it's like the whole neighborhood comes up behind and is like, we're here to support you, Ruby. And then Ruby is like, what are you going to do? Shoot all of us? And boom! Alice falls from above and knocks the woman out. And it's so funny because you can hear Ruby in the background. She's like, damn, knocked that bitch out cold. And it's just, it's funny. And so back in the basement, the man is trying to find Fool, and the boys kind of use him as a way to get the door open. They grab Fool from behind, and they're like shimmying him over to the door, and the man's ready to shoot. They drop him, and he shoots the lock instead. So the door flings open real quick, and they drag Fool in, and they try to hide him. And so Grandpa, he's hearing all this commotion in the basement. He opens up the door, and he's like, Fool, you down there? And the man runs up and tries to get him. And Grandpa slams the door in his face. And so the man gets kind of knocked down. He gets knocked down the stairs. And Fool is over there with the boys, telling one of them, hey, this is how you get out. I have a way for you. You just have to get past the man. And the boy points at this door behind him, which turns out it's a vault. And Fool has to disarm some burglar alarm with it. And the vault is chocked full of just money and gold, and it's just it's beautiful. And so Ruby and Alice end up opening the door to the basement, and they're yelling for Fool. They're like, Fool, are you down there? Fool, are you down there? And they hear the front door slam, and the woman is gone. Ruby, she goes over to the door and she opens it up. She's like, did you guys see where she went? And the door slams and locks behind her. And Alice tries to unlock the door with the switch controls. They have this control panel in the wall, and it's like system override. And the woman says over the intercom, did you really think I'd let you go this easy? Yes, bitch, I did. Alice wanders through the house and she finds the woman in the kitchen, and the woman goes straight buck mommy dearest in this bitch. She tries to kill Alice. She gets this big ass butcher knife and starts screaming and is yelling at her and running at her and shit. And Alice is pinned on the stairs at this point. She's about to stab her, and boom, the boys are there to save the day. They blast through the stairs. They attack the woman. She's trying to run away. They're running from they're coming out the walls. They're attacking her. And she makes her way to the kitchen. And Alice stabs her in the gut. She cuts her a little bit. And the woman tries to escape. The boys are like, you're not going anywhere, lady bitch. And so the woman turns back around and is like, you hurt your mother, to Alice. And Alice says, you're not my mother. Never were. And she takes the knife out. This lady bitch takes the knife out and tries to come at Alice again. But no, the boys come at her and they do the damn thing. They slit her fucking throat and throw her downstairs with her weird ass brother. She is Dunskies, wasted, big, dead. And so the man, of course, saw his dear sister dead, and he hears Fool in the vault. It sounds like coins being counted, and he heads that way. And then the man thinks he has Fool cornered because Fool, being the smart little cookie he is, he got these candlesticks, right? They were burning, and he stuck coins into them, and as the wax came down, the coins fell out, so it sounded like he was counting coins. And this man's really think he got him, and Fool is like, he surprises him from behind. He is ready to like blow this place into smithereens, like he don't give a fuck. And Fool is like, I am so tired of fucking around with you. And the man is like, he freezes, but then he comes at him. And so Fool is like, we gonna make this bitch explode. And so he explodes the whole house. Like, it's like a big ass kaboom. Luckily he didn't die, but like there was dynamite all around this bitch. And yeah, it gets exploded. And the man, he ends up landing in the hole that had Leroy and Spencer's body in it. And it's just, if you haven't seen the movie, imagine a super disgusting septic tank filled with shit and piss and like bodily fluids and dead bodies and like skin and fat and it's disgusting. Nasty. And so all of the money that was in the vault, it exploded too. Like, it didn't catch fire or anything. It went through the vents, which is very not real in my opinion, but you know, that's just my opinion. And it's like floating through the air and stuff. People are grabbing at it. Fool is in the basement. Homegirl Alice comes down there to check on him, and there's like all this money laying around. Sorry, not sorry. I would have been grabbing at that money. Like, nobody sees all this down here. Mine. And everybody always says, well, money doesn't buy happiness. Well, it makes shit a hell of a lot easier. So out of my face. And Alice finds Fool, and she's like, you know, are you okay? And he says, I feel like $1 million. Like I said, the money is flying everywhere. Everyone is collecting some, all of the neighborhood. And the boys are out in the world. Alice is free. And all together, it's actually a really happy ending for everyone. Like, Fool now is rich beyond rich. Like, he's very wealthy. The whole neighborhood is getting money back. The boys are out of the basement. Alice is out. The evil people are dead. Like, it's an overall really feel-good ending. Like, yes, there was a lot leading up to it, but it was a good time. And so it fades out, and then it's ending credits. And so that was The People Under the Stairs from 1991. I just want to quickly thank everyone for listening. This was an experience today. I usually don't just kind of like talk to myself. So yeah, I don't really know what else to say. Like, I feel like I should say more. I don't know. If you want to donate, you can do that through our listener support link down below. If you want subscriptions, like I said, I will be doing a poll. It will also be linked down below on this episode page. It'll be up for 2 weeks. Follow us on all social media platforms. We are on Instagram. We're on TikTok. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We're on Spotify. Oh, and I deleted the Twitter, by the way, because that was getting like 0 traction. Twitter's dead. Like, it's so sad. Twitter is so dead. Oh yeah, also, it's August 10th right now. I want to wish my big brother a very, very, very happy birthday. I hope it was an amazing day. I know you're going to be listening to this as soon as it drops. And yeah, I love ya. Any hoozles. I hope everyone has a lovely rest of your day, night, morning, whatever. And me and Hannah will see you guys in the next one. Bye. Oh shit. I know I just did the bye. I forgot to mention. Next couple of weeks, we are going to be covering the Scream franchise. So next 2 weeks, we're going to be doing Scream 1 and 2. And then there's going to be a little break. There's going to be another movie in that. And then we'll see from there. That's how the next 3 weeks is going to be looking. Scream 1 and 2, and then another movie. I know what it is, but you guys don't. Ha. All right. I'll see you next time. Me and Hannah will see you next time. Bye. Part 2.